Okay, here we go.
4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, well, Kufar Akbar, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Crossing the Crescent discussion group. This is a blog talk radio show that is dedicated to rightly dividing the truth between Islam and Christianity. We are here every Tuesday afternoon at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, every Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we're generally here for about 2 hours. Some days more, some days a little less, depending on whether we beat the dead horse to death or not. Couple of things I wanted to announce. I'm not sure if we've gotten Sunday worked out yet, Paul, as far as me not being able to broadcast on Sunday. Do you know?
We'll figure it out. What time do you need things by? Or
well, I can build the show at any time. I can build the show 10 minutes before start.
I'll put something together for and send you an outline or a brag sheet.
Okay. All right. Great. Also, I wanted to say something about fascist book, or I'm sorry. What do we call it? Facebook? We call Facebook. And we live stream on Facebook too, on my personal page, the Eric Smith personal page. And I think it's hold on, what is this one?
Crossing the Crescent discussion group.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So so those two pages, and one of them got reported today for the show that we did when we critiqued the Imam Kenny Bomer's debate with David Wood, and they said it
reported for what?
Hate speech. This is hate speech. You can't criticize me. So here you got somebody getting all butthurt.
So that's
again.
probably Kenny Bomer himself reporting it.
I don't know who it is. I could care less, to be honest with you.
Actually, it's probably a Facebook fact checker with no facts to check.
Well, it's just this is what they do. I mean, when you sit here and you provide a critique or you provide any type of criticism, this is the type of behavior they engage in, because they know that they can't. If they could counter it, for example, when we were talking about that debate, and it's the easiest. I don't know why he picked that topic, to be honest. I mean, of all the topics in the world to pick, why pick that one? That is the dumbest topic. You're going to get your butt kicked because there's no way around it.
No possible win for him.
No, I mean, how old was Aisha when Muhammad raped her or married her?
Moral? Was it moral? Basically, is pedophilia moral? Is what the topic truly was. Because it was asking if Muhammad's betting of a 9-year-old girl was moral.
Oh, I thought they were talking about the age.
No,
well, it would be okay. Well, I guess would it be moral if
it was
she
the morality
was
issue?
Okay, all right. So, but even then, I mean, it's
there was no you can't argue that without saying you believe in pedophilia.
Well, this is the thing. This is where he was arguing. This was his argument. She was saying that she wasn't 9 years old. He was saying that, oh, nobody knows, nobody was there, which is a lie.
I think he realized after he proposed that he would suddenly be followed everywhere by the FBI.
Maybe so, but anyway, and so I made a. I don't know if maybe I can get this up on the screen here because I did make a slideshow with him. I made a special slide for it, and sometimes I just get you get kind of wrapped. I don't want to say I get wrapped up, but you get going in something, and you and you start. What was the debate? That was this year? That was February.
It was this year. I thought it was.
Yeah, it was this year.
Fall.
Okay. No. It was like February.
Okay.
Let me see here.
I just remember there was two, and they were total they were just total obliterations within the first 5 minutes.
This is what I wanted to show. So I made this screen or this thing for my slideshow. Where's the slide? How do I put this up here? Here we go. So this is what I made, and I didn't mention his name anywhere. I don't. Well, no, it is named right there. I guess.
He's there.
Well,
it's right there.
Yeah.
Kenny Bomber.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess I did mention his name, but they said, I don't know. I don't know if that's the reason why they.
It's not.
I appealed it. Well, of course, it's not hate speech.
It's
and
not
they
hate
know
speech.
that, but they don't care.
You're just. I would have. If is it hate speech to be against pedophilia? That's what I would have asked.
Well, hold on. Let's just take a look at what the slides say here. This is very telling. Hold on. Let me get this up here. And all we did was that we just went through the hadiths, Bukhari, Muslim.
You cited.
Dawood,
there's nothing hateful
Nasi,
about citing sources either.
Sunan Ibn Majah, and then Ibn Kathir, Asqalani, Tabari,
Sirah Rasul,
yeah, and the Quran itself, and then
we assert the ultimate authority.
Yeah, Kenny Bomer. Yeah, I mean, come on. Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous to sit there and I don't know.
How is that in any manner hate speech? And this is, like I said, the fake book. I use fake book or fascist book, but when they don't have anything to do, they have to go digging months and months back because otherwise they have nothing to prove their need for income.
Say that.
They have no proof of they have no proof that they've done anything. They can't justify their income. That's why they keep going back. I think. I don't think people report it. I think that these fake bookers, fact checkers, just are trying to prove their existence. To prove their need for an income.
Well, they're definitely not earning it. That's for sure. If they allow, and this is just you can.
What I would do is
report anybody.
I would in turn. I guess I would write back. If they give you a chance if they write back again, I would say, do I need to report Facebook fact checkers for supporting pedophilia to the FBI?
That would be good. Because that was the content of the show.
Because that's actually what this is discussion. You're standing against pedophilia,
and he's Kenny justifying.
He was trying to say, well, a 9-year-old girl is really 18. That was the whole thing. That was the whole premise of the debate, is because he was saying that she was, David was citing. He didn't follow the actual. That's what killed me. He didn't actually do what. He's the one who chose the name for the debate. He's the one who chose the topic, and not once did he discuss the topic.
Well, he brought up all kinds of different ways to try to make her older. That was
because he would be followed by the FBI.
Well,
he might be arrested for pedophilia. He probably doesn't want people going into his personal computer.
I mean, is he even making videos? Is he even doing live streams anymore? I haven't.
I have. You know what? He's not worth your time. He's not worth.
I know I haven't checked him.
Yeah.
You know, and what I've been doing though is I've been sitting over on Clubhouse way too much, and so I don't not paying as much attention as I guess I should. Okay, so today what we're going to do is we're going to look at what the Quran missed. It's kind of a comparison between the Bible and the Quran, I think. So what I want to do is I want to show what is this? Did I click the wrong button? I'll tell you what. Okay, I want to show
the last one. Yeah.
I want to show the differences between the Quran and the Bible. Now, this is from an article by Ahmed Simon. He's I
think you want to use the other view.
Which view is that?
Where you see the full. Do you want to use
do the full one?
There you go. Yeah.
Let's do the full view then. All right. What's this one? No,
yeah, they won't be able to see what's underneath. Yeah.
All right. Let's do the full view. Okay, so this guy wrote an article, very extensive article, and I was reading through it. What's today? Today is Tuesday. I was reading. I guess I read it Sunday night. I was reading it Sunday night, and it was really good. So I thought, you know what? Why not just put this thing into a slideshow and let him tell this story here? So I took what he wrote in his article and I put it in a slideshow. So most of this material, I've gone in and edited some of it, to be honest, but not a whole heck of a lot. The majority of it is his material, and it's really good stuff. So he starts off with the premise is that the Muslims, they falsely say that everything that is in the Bible is in the Quran. Everything we need to know about the Bible is already in the Quran. So, and he says this is equivalent of saying, okay, you got a pail of water and you pour it into a cup, and then saying the entire pail is in the cup. It's a stupid argument.
I was going to say the Quran is tiny compared to the Bible. Yeah.
Yeah. And growing up a Muslim, and he makes notes the fact that most of the Muslims don't know what's even in the Quran. They're just, number one, it's a language thing, but number two, they don't study it. They learn to recite it, but a lot of times they don't even know what they're reciting. And then most Muslims, when they argue against the Bible, don't even know what's in the Bible. They've got a couple blurbs off of a website, and they go and they try to criticize the Bible. Let me give you a great example of this. We were, who was it, at Uthman Farouk's booth a couple weeks ago.
God Logic, is it?
I think it was God Logic.
And then there's the other gentleman who has a booth next to him, and he's just incredible too.
I think it was God Logic. Okay. And Uthman is making this argument about a statement in Mark, or maybe it was Danny Davis. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. Okay.
No, the one with Mark, that was God Logic, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. So he's making a comment from Mark, only the son or only the father knows the day and the hour, da, 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 da. Okay. So God Logic says, can you show me in the Bible where that is? Can show me because let's read the context. And so even Farouk starts going back to the Old Testament. He's sitting there looking through it in the Old Testament, and God Logic is that you're going the wrong direction. You need to go forward because he doesn't even know the Bible. He just knows to pick and choose parts of it, and that's fine. That's fine. I get that. If you don't believe the book itself, and you think that the Quran supersedes it, that's fine, because I do the same thing with the Quran. I got things indexed off in the Quran too, where I want to talk about something special, something different, and there I'll do it too. But what this guy's the point is he's trying to make here is that most Muslims don't know what's in the Quran, and most Muslims don't know what's in the Bible, but yet they believe the Quran over the Bible regardless, and because that's the way they just grew up. And if you think about the Quran, the verses are there not really for the informing, but they're there for the reciting. And so when we look at what the purpose of the Quran, it's not to understand it. Understanding the Quran is not compulsory, in other words, where understanding the Bible is. And Muslims generally, they only learn to recite, memorize, and the Arabic, and they depend on their scholars their clergy to interpret what the Quran says to them. So they don't really pay attention. They don't learn, or they don't study the Quran in order to learn to understand it. Now, I want to show you something here. This is what I had to memorize when I was a child. When I was just a child, I had to memorize Lutheran's Small Catechism. And in here, we go to different you have to memorize all kinds of different Bible verses, but you have to understand what they say. For an example, it talks about confession. All right, confession, and it says how Christians should be taught to confess. So it starts off with the question: what is confession? And this is the part you have to memorize. Confession has two parts. First, that we must confess our sins, and second, that we receive absolution, that is forgiveness, from the pastor as from God himself. Now, this is Lutheran. I mean, this is very Lutheran. We get absolution from the pastor. It's like a priest,
But this is a catechism, and catechism, if you understand that, is that a catechism is, okay, you got a question, and these are responses that are memorized. The cool thing about this, I went through Lutheran confirmation classes.
That's what they are.
Part of a, yeah, is that the Small Catechism? Yeah. Well,
Luther's Small Catechism with explanations.
So I, as a 7th and 8th grader, I went through those classes because I was in a private Lutheran school, and we had to memorize those. So the teacher would read the question, and we were expected to state it out loud and prove. We each individually had to prove it as well. So it was, what was cool? We were memorizing scripture.
Yeah, and that's what you do. You memorize scripture, but then you have to go through this to understand and to get an understanding of the meaning of scripture. Yes. Now, you don't have to, you don't have to agree with everything that's in that book, of course. But the point I'm making is that the Bible is read to be understood.
Yes, it's written to be understood.
Right. Not read to be memorized.
Yes.
It's good to memorize scripture, I think, but well, not so much anymore. Anyway, it's good to understand we more or less read to understand what the scripture says, whereas they're only reading to memorize, to recite. Now, the more scripture that you can memorize and recite, God bless you for doing it. But that's not the purpose of it. The purpose of it is to understand, and this is what this is what I found. Well, yeah, and this is what the crux of this guy's argument in the paper was that I found so interesting, and that we needed to talk about. Okay, so let's jump back here to the slideshow. Oh, did I just kick Rad out, or is he dropping in and out?
I think he might have dropped out by his own. It's Tuesday. He's on his way back from work.
Yeah, he's been in and out a couple times.
Yeah, he'll be all right. Get on his train. Okay. Now, when you look at the clergy of Muslims, they're not going to tell you the truth about the Quran because they're more interested in defending it. And in order to defend it, or when they defend it, they're serving Allah. And so in order to defend it, they can do it either by lying, cheating, deceiving. And that's all in the Quran also, because it says Allah is the greatest of deceivers. I know. A lot of people say, no, it says that he's the greatest of planners. No, that's not what it says. He's the greatest of deceivers. You can go ahead and deceive yourself to say that it says this other thing. That's fine by me. But no, it says that he's the greatest of deceivers. And they say that these atrocities that people commit all over the world are done by Muslims that don't know the true Islam, what the Quran truly teaches. So the true Islam, okay, so it says, in truth, it is what they do know is the true Islam because they are being fed sanitized, whitewashed Islam fed to them by their Islamic clergies. Okay, so let's follow this bouncing ball. What this guy is saying is that the people who live in the West, when they see that the violence and all these atrocities committed by people, they'll say that's not the true Islam. And the reason why they say that this is not the true Islam is because they've been fed this garbage by westernized Muslims, saying that no, 929 does not really mean fight those who disbelieve in Allah. 98:6 does not say that, that Christians and Jews are the worst of creatures. It doesn't mean all of these things.
I would go so far as to say the westernized Muslims is not the threat, or that westernized. These are primarily people who would say these things, who would say them the first. People would hear the first time from Muslims who are seeking to deceive you about what the Quran really says. It's not necessarily the westernized Muslims. No, it's the people who really don't want you to know what the Quran says.
And the reason why is they're trying to convert.
Because if you knew what it said, you wouldn't want anyone living near you.
Really.
Because then you'd be thinking about your children, your wife, your dog.
Maybe your dog. Why is that? Let me explain to you.
But it's true.
Okay, so my hair is all back here. I tell you, I was out in the sun all day, and I am just, you stay out in the sun too long, and it just soaks the life right out of you. Okay, when we compare this to Bible,
I feel so bad for you. So bad for you. So bad. This is why I really hate Kenny, because he made you retire early. That's why I really hate him. I'm just saying. Just saying, dude.
Okay, I was thinking that you were at work earning money so you can pay your taxes so I can get my retirement check. I don't mean to rub that in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not like I got to eat or anything. Government.
Yeah.
Taxes.
Hey, don't hate, congratulate. All right, let's get back. Did he just leave again? All right.
I think he can only survive so long on that.
Yeah, he can only take so much of the kaffir. Mm-hmm. I get it. Yeah, make sure you're hydrated. Yes, thank you. Whoops,
Andrew.
Chat there. Yeah, Andrew. So make sure you're hydrated. I'm drinking the kaffir juice. I don't have any camel urine though. That's yeah, I should. I mean, Rad kind of sacked that deal that we had with that sponsor. What was the name of that company that sent us the camel urine? The Jamal or
no? Jamal was the body wash. This is Camel Cola.
Camel Cola. There we go. Camel Cola. There we go. Yeah. Now, did they go out of business because of COVID, or what happened with that?
Yeah, we haven't heard back from them. I don't know. There was an explosion at the plant somewhere in Gaza Strip, and we haven't heard anything from them.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you keeping us.
I guess things were under pressure.
No, I mean, some of the things that we would do. I mean, that guy's a riot. Okay, let's get back to the slideshow. Okay, the Bible. Let's look at the Bible. Now, when we look at the Bible is when we start looking at how documented this book is, as far as when you bring in all of these other areas of science, archaeology, geography, so on and so forth. So it's
at this point in history, we know that every single location that's mentioned in the Bible has been seen and found. Every town, every city,
and some of them had thought that some of them had not been or did not exist.
Yes. And by, I would say, how old was I then when they came out and said they found the last location? I think I might have been 18 or 19. That might have been 1983.
I'm not sure, but what I do know is that Babylon at one time was thought to be just a fable.
Yes.
And they uncovered. I don't know when they uncovered. It's been over 100 years since they found it, but when they did uncover it, they're like, oh, well, I guess this is not a fable after all. So how's that saying go? Every time that the archaeologist, golly, get it out of your mouth for Pete's sake, turns over his spade, it proves the Bible just more extensively. There was an article that I just sent where we talked about. What was that? Let me bring that.
I'm just going to go the other direction and go into the science field. How long ago was it that we discovered there really is something called the fountains of the deep? I mean, that's mentioned in Genesis 6. I believe it's Genesis 6. And within the past, what are we talking about? The past 100 years, we've discovered that there is something called the fountains of the deeps. They're in the trenches. I mean, yeah, it just verifies the Bible is way ahead.
This is an article that I sent. I think we talked about it. They found a Mount Ebal curse tablet, where there was, how'd this go? They had the curses. It had the curses anyway. It speaks of the curse tablet, I believe, in Deuteronomy or someplace. And in the article, it talks about how there's a certain curse that's being pronounced by God or whatever, and they had a tablet that found on Mount Ebal in Israel, proving that this existed, 3,000 years ago, over 3,000 years ago, for crying out loud. So again, it's the most documented and attested book from antiquity. And when we look at the Quran, nothing. There's no documented evidence. Think about this. The Quran is centered, the whole story, not the whole story, but the life of Muhammad, this prophet of Islam, is centered around which city?
Well, the two cities, you got Mecca, and then you got a place that is recorded as Yathrib, which later becomes Medina.
Right. Okay. So what evidence do we have for Yathrib existing prior to the 7th century? I think there is. I think there is archaeological evidence out there demonstrating that Yathrib, Medina, which later changed its name to Medina, existed prior to the 7th century. But the fact is that we have no archaeological evidence for Mecca. And we've spoken of that several times on this show, how there is absolutely no archaeological evidence whatsoever supporting the existence of Mecca. So when we look at the difference between what evidence that there is for the Bible and compare that to the Quran, there is no comparison. That's the bottom line. The Bible is published in more than 140 languages, and we don't know how many languages the Quran is published in, but we know that it's published in the Arabic, that's for sure. Let's see here. The Bible is published and made available in the people's mother tongues, and it is understood because it transcends, the message in the Bible transcends the national, racial, cultural, traditional boundaries. Well, and when you look at all the races and nationalities are able to understand what the Bible's message is. Why? Because it is read and written and spoken in people's mother's tongue.
And Christians don't forbid people to read the Bible in their own native tongue. I mean, there may have been, Catholic Church may have decided to hate it, but nobody calls them a place that, any organization that forbids reading the Bible. That's just not a Christian organization.
Well, they did. You're right. You're absolutely right. The Catholic Church used to, the only authorized language to write the Bible in, speak the language of the Bible, was Latin. And I don't know how long did that go on for? That had to go on for at least 100,000 years. Maybe.
It ended with Vatican II, supposedly. Although it does say that the Council of Trent is still in force.
Well, so okay, when was that? But I mean, we're talking about Tyndale and all those.
We're talking about 1963, somewhere around there. I don't remember when Vatican II was. It's back. It's a ways back.
So are you saying that the Catholic Church? I didn't know this. Is that the Catholic Church finally came out and said, "Hey, you can actually read the Bible in something other than Latin"?
Yeah, because I went to
60 years.
Yeah, I went to a former Catholic college for my master's, and yes, there were people there who I asked questions about. Did you actually have to get permission? Because there would be people who had taken courses there who were, 50 years ago, and then they actually had to get permission from their bishops to read the Bible in their own language.
Wow, I didn't know that, because I thought, with Tyndale and the translation.
I'll have to do a show on that, because one of the first ones I want. I have a lot of research done on the Index of Forbidden Books. That would be an maybe that's what I'll do. I'll set it
Well,
up.
because a lot of people were actually when they started
TPR Sunday show. I could put that together.
When they started translating, people were killed for this for translating it out of the Latin. And this is, I think, Tyndale pre-Reformation, but I mean, even because look at Luther. Luther translated the Bible into.
I mean, so many people did
German.
till the Catholic Church decided they wanted to be rulers instead of lovers of God.
Well, that's what they ended. That's why we had a Reformation. I mean, that's
exactly.
Makes sense now. Okay. Let's see these. Okay, so we get to the reason why we do this is because it's easier to understand what God's message is in your own language instead of having to waste your time to learn a language in order to understand what God's message is to you. It makes no sense to have to do that. So to require somebody to, only clearly understand what's in my message, you have to read it in the Arabic. It's just a bunch of bunk.
It limits God. It doesn't limit man. That's the funny thing about it. In that, by that statement by Islam, it's putting a limitation on God not being able to communicate, not a limitation on man.
We had I don't know if you guys remember, what was that guy? Asana. Do you remember him, Rad? Asana. I can't ever pronounce his last name.
Bin Laden, yeah, I remember him. He got killed.
What's that?
He what?
Sorry.
No, yeah, you mean Osama bin Laden? Yeah, he got killed, if I recall correctly.
No, not Osama bin Laden.
Oh.
Asana.
Well,
Asana. When we used to have Asana on the show. You remember him?
Same difference, except he's alive. Yeah, I remember him.
Okay,
yeah.
well, anyway, so Asana's here's what Asana's argument was. He says, look, the reason why God initially revealed the Quran in the classical Arabic, which was the first formings of Arabic, no diacritical marks, anything like that, is because he did not want to have his language polluted with mistranslations or misunderstandings. That was his argument. But if you're writing this down, and you don't have diacritical marks, how in the Hades are you? It's like writing words without vowels. How are you going to know? But it was just the stupidest argument. But anyway,
well,
okay,
they can say that for their, the Hebrew today is written without vowels, and it's clear.
Well, maybe he had a point. I don't know, but anyway. Okay, so. So the guy makes in his article, he says that the Lord understands, never insisted on making one language more significant than the other, and he's able to conveying his message was more important than getting people to recite it. Whereas the Quran requires Muslims to pray only in the Arabic language, and what that does is it shows a bias towards Arabic itself. And when you do this, it's insulting people who speak other languages. Now, why would you do that? Now, think about that just for a second. If you are going to pray to God, if you're praying to the God who created you, the God who has given you all that He's given you the breath of life, given you all that you have, wouldn't you want to be able to do that in a language that you understand and that you can express yourself in? Instead of being told that you have to recite these 5 rote prayers every single day, 5 times a day. I mean, what kind of life? I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking this. I mean, do people really honestly think that reciting the same 5 words that they don't understand a day does anything for them?
No, they're just brainwashed into thinking that. And they're told not to question, so they just keep doing it over and over.
Yeah, do not question Allah, just keep doing it. Yeah, who are you? Who are you to question why? No, yours is to do and die. That sounds like a poem. It was a poem, as a matter of fact. Charge of the Light Brigade. Very famous poem. Okay. But I agree that it's just obey. Shut up, obey, recite these words, and it's going to get you into heaven eventually someday. How does that work out? Wasn't it somebody said, don't, what was that? What he said, that guy said something on the lines of, don't be like the hypocrites or something like that. Yeah, okay, right here it says, whenever you do, let's see here. Whenever you pray, do not be like hypocrites, because they love to pray while standing in synagogues and on street corners so that people can see them. Truly, I say to you, they have their reward. But whenever you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is in secret, and your Father will reward you. When you pray, do not babble repetitiously. Now, I think the guy that said this, Jesus Christ.
Wait. If this guy came before Muhammad, and Muhammad decided it was more important to bang your head and make sure everybody saw you praying, if he's supposed to be a messenger, isn't he supposed to confirm the words of a prophet before him?
Well, you're missing the main idea here, that the Bible's been corrupted, don't you see? And that's been changed. I mean, somebody interloper put that in there, and that's really not the real gospel. The real gospel is this Injil that was given to Jesus, that nobody's ever seen before. A bunch of new people in the chat today. I appreciate you guys coming. Thank you so much. Manny, and the Christian. Well, yes, they've been here before. I'm sorry. Okay, let's get back to the slideshow. Sorry. Okay, this. I got to get a mouse pad, is what I got to get, because I borrowed the Queen's mouse pad last week and I forgot to put it back. And boy, did I. Yeah, I caught it for that. Where's my mouse pad? I got it over here. Sorry about that.
Don't make the Queen upset.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so when we look here, because of bias, almost all Muslims memorize the prayers in the Arabic, and in most of the cases, they have no idea what their true meaning of the prayers are. Why? Because they don't speak the most. 20%. What is it? 80% of Muslims don't speak Arabic. They don't speak and understand it.
It actually might be higher, but we're looking at 80%.
Okay, yeah. I'm trying to be
that's a generous
conservative here. Right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Here's the number right here. It says more than 80% of Muslims have to pray in a second language, because these prayers are alien to them, and they have no clue what they're saying. They're just like a bunch of parrots. And when you think about this, it's actually comical, is the point. You're saying, okay, if you repeat these prayers, God will hear you. Do you understand me? Yeah, I understand you. Okay, we'll say this. Well, I don't know what I'm saying. Well, it doesn't matter. God will hear the prayer and he will forgive you, even though you don't know what the heck you're saying. That's the dumbest argument. And he actually says this is comical.
It is.
Because it's, I don't know. This is, okay, it's ridiculous and illogical is the bottom line. Okay, the Bible, when you look at the Bible, it's an account of God's aspirations and plans for the world. And we've had it for 4,000 years now. But the Quran centers on, okay, so let's look at the first one. This is plans for the world, God's plans and aspirations for the world. The Quran always focuses on how to spread Islam. I did a lousy job of making that bold and underlined. My fault. Sorry. I make mistakes, I guess.
We all do.
And you look at the Bible, it's essentially chronological in its setting of the past and the future. But the Quran,
it's pretty much in order. And most of the Bible is pretty much in order. There's a few things that are out of place, but that's also done purposeful.
Well, in the Old Testament, you have the Torah, then you have
the
First
Torah,
Samuel, First, Second Kings, First, Second. You have the law, the Torah, which is the law. Then you have the poetry is classified into a section.
It's called the writings, the Ketubim.
Yeah.
Okay,
and then you have the major.
The Hebrews divided up into three sections: the law, the prophets, and the writings.
Okay.
All right, and that's how it's divided. And if you look at it that way, then chronologically, I'd say all but, what are we talking about? 2 books that might not be in order. That's it.
Job.
Job is the one I'm thinking
and
of.
But it's poetry, though. I mean, it's supposed to be, Job is supposed to be the oldest book of the Bible.
Yes,
but it's considered poetry. And I don't know, Esther.
And it's put next to what book? Psalms.
Right, that because it's poetry. But I think it's Esther is the one.
Yes, and Esther is the other one.
Okay, Esther and maybe Ruth. I can't remember. It doesn't matter.
Esther,
but anyway,
Job.
but you can at least follow a chronological order and a semblance of one. In the Quran, well, not so much.
Wait. They say everything. Even their explanation for that order doesn't make sense, because they say the longest. What is said longest is first, but the first book is first chapter in the Quran is very, very short. There's no reason for it to be there.
Yeah. Well, if you look at it, I mean, even the books, even the chapters, each of the chapters, there's no continuity there. There's no continuous what's the word? Continuity and congruency here. It's all hoofta toofta. It's all jumbled up, and you have one story going, and then it abruptly ends, and it starts another story, and then that same story that
you're being kind. You can't even tell from in one verse. You can't even tell. It's like, this is what Dr. Kufarphobia and I are doing. We're going through the Dissecting the Quran series, and now we've got Usama Dakdak joining us on a regular basis. It's it's probably the most difficult book I've ever read, for the fact that it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I've read it a couple times.
Well, that's a miracle, dude.
So you're more than welcome to read some.
You just described a miracle. It doesn't make any sense. And that is
The
the miracle.
miracle is that anybody
I
decided
haven't
to
read,
publish it.
it's something that
Well,
I
actually, no, I'm telling the truth. There's a DCC Ministry just published a video where they go through, what's his name, Ali Dawan is 1,000 Miles, or whatever, and he's criticizing, who is it, Yasser Qadi, and he's saying, don't come to me, just because your feeble little mind can't understand it, I don't understand it, but I accept it as true. You just said you don't understand something, and you accept it as true. So there, I mean, seriously, it's it's gibberish. You know what I mean? And it's okay, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can hum it, you can sing it, carry a tune, whatever. So that's all they want. And
Well, that's how they memorize it. I mean, that's how a lot of people memorize it. If you sing something, you have a greater ability to memorize it. Like
Exactly.
I mentioned this several times.
I can't hear you.
Before. Yeah, Brad, you got a lot of background noise there, brother. I mentioned this before. A lot of the songs when you were a kid, you remember, because you sing them, but you remember the words, you remember the lyrics, and and it's easy to remember when you're younger. The older, it's harder to do, and this is why they teach kids in Hebrew to sing the Psalm, sing the Torah, and memorize it. Aisha bint Abu Bakr. Love that name. Number of young Catholics prefer going to pre-Vatican Latin masses. I didn't know that. Why would that be?
I have a problem with that. So if they're young, they have no clue what's going on, and they have they don't even know what they're being told, or they don't know what to do. They have to be told. Because if you go to a Latin mass, no one's communicating to you in English or Spanish or whatever your normal language is. To say that young people want that, I think that's the direction of a older mind.
Okay. So if you speak Latin,
yeah,
I could see it. But if you don't speak Latin, what's the point? I mean. Does not make any sense. Okay, let's get back to the slideshow. I don't know how many more of these I got, but we're going to keep trugging along here. Okay, so when we look at the Bible, I mentioned before, it's well documented. The Quran has all kinds of contradictions, errors, and especially against well documented facts. And here I'm going to do it again, because every chance that I get, I want to make sure that Anybody that is a Muslim that might be watching this show, I'm going to break this mouse. I swear I'm going to throw it through the window.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to make this point one more time, that in Quran 4:157, it denies that Jesus was crucified. It denies the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. The crucifixion of Jesus Christ is the most attested to event from antiquity. So here you have a book denying the most attested event from antiquity. We have people from all different faiths affirm the fact that Jesus died on the cross. Your scholars, some of your most popular and brilliant Christian scholars, even the most liberal ones, will say that Jesus Christ died by crucifixion on a cross. Even your atheist and your agnostic scholars will say that Jesus Christ died by crucifixion on a cross. The only faith out there that says that Jesus Christ did not die by crucifixion on a cross is Islam. Why? Because of this one verse. And it said, well, it only appeared to him. No, it did not only appear to them. These people were Roman soldiers. They know how to kill somebody. And we've talked about the process.
If you think they're going to come out and tell someone they killed somebody when they're not dead, you don't know much about Roman soldiers.
Right. And especially if you don't kill this guy, they're going to kill you for not doing it. But the fact that these guys did not know how to do it or did not know if somebody was dead is stupid. So this swoon theory that they come up with, oh, he just swooned. No, he didn't. You're an idiot believing that. But even if he did swoon, it says that he was not crucified. Well, if you're on a cross and nailed to a cross, you're being crucified. But the other thing that is just so despicable about this verse is the fact that they will try to tell you that God made it only appear to them. So if God made it only to appear to people that Jesus was crucified, then Jesus was seen later, he was resurrected. If God only made it to appear that way, and then people would believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, he was God incarnate because he was able to overcome death, they would start committing shirk, which is the only unforgivable sin in Islam. So if your God, if your Allah is going to make it only appear to people, so they will in turn believe for thousands of years, billions of people will be going to hell because of something you did, you are a malevolent piece of garbage. So this idea that the Quran is not well documented and it misses all kinds of historical. We've gone through the anachronisms that are in the Quran by saying that a Samaritan helped Aaron build the Caliph at Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai is 1400 BC. Samaria did not come into existence until 700 BC. It's 700 years off. David is going to wear chainmail. Chainmail was not invented for another over 1,000 years after, well, not over 1,000, maybe it's 500 years after David on a different continent. You have Joseph being sold for coins, dirhams. Coins weren't invented until around 1000 BC. Joseph lives around 1800 BC. You have crucifixion occurring in the court of Pharaoh. They didn't start crucifying people until around 700 BC. The court of Pharaoh, when Moses is there, it's 1400 BC. When Joseph's there, it's 1800 BC. So it's a historical joke, is what it is. And nobody goes to the Quran to get some type of historical context for dink. But for the Bible, yes, indeed, they do.
Eric?
Oh, yes. Hi, Connie.
Hi. May I?
May you what?
May I speak?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Speak.
Okay. Well, see.
Let me mute you. I'm going to mute you. Hold on. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead. What's up?
You know, it's because they don't believe in Moses's writings and they don't believe in the prophets' writings.
Yet they claim to. You're exactly right.
Yes, I am. You know, they think that God works in a vacuum like in Islam, and he doesn't. He says his word, he prophesies through the prophets, and then years later, Jesus was the fulfillment of all of that. So then you've got a beautiful two witnesses. You have God speaking, then God fulfilling. With Islam, you don't have that. You just have this so-called Allah in a vacuum that won't prove his word, but he wants everybody else to prove, things while he doesn't prove his word at all. The Bible proves its word.
Right. And also with the Quran, you don't have any illusion. I'm going to get this out. I'm going to refer to this, and I'm going to circle back to what you just said, Connie, because proving your word and then citing actually real places, real locations, real people. The Quran doesn't do that, and we're gonna get to that. All right, let's jump back over to what the Quran missed. Okay, so here, oops, I got too many up here. Okay, so if you look at the Bible, it does indeed record dialogues between God and various prophets, between the prophets and the people, and also dialogues between people. And this is the reason why it does this is because it gives us the rationale of what God wanted to be spoken and what message that he wanted to convey to the people. Where if you look at the Quran, here you have Allah sending to an angel, the third party. What if Allah? Okay, can somebody explain this to me? And maybe I'm just asking the wrong question here, but why can't God, if he's spoken to mankind directly before, for like say Moses, for example, why can't he do that to Muhammad? Why does he have to go through an angel? I mean, has anybody ever offered up a reason for this, or am I just asking too many questions here?
I think it's because Allah is too small a concept of God, because this little God isn't powerful enough to communicate to humans. He has to have something in between.
And it sounds like that Allah can't enter his creation, so he won't come directly to Muhammad.
Well said.
And they also, apparently he's got no shape, despite there being the two right hands and the shin.
and the feet and the foot. Yeah, and the foot.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just thinking. I'm trying to think here. Why go through an angel? But okay, the whole thing just doesn't make any sense. But that's okay. All right, so he gives his word to an angel, word that has existed eternally in heaven. Oh, by the way, so he gives it to this angel, and then the angel gives it to Muhammad in my.
Wait! I know why he uses the angel. Now, you ready?
Go.
So he can claim that the angel got it wrong. That telephone story.
Yeah, the telephone game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we look at these conversations in the Bible, they're between God and man, prophets and people to people. Whereas in the Quran, which is supposed to be a confirmation of the Bible, it's only a monologue, more or less, from Allah to mankind. There is no dialogue in there. The Bible is specific. And if you look at the information that is in there, it is accurate, and it prevents you from misinterpreting different events. Here's what's crazy, is that if you look at the book of Kings, Judges, and Chronicles, there's a lot of overlap there in Jewish history. And you have different renderings of the same events to get a better understanding of what occurred.
You also find it sets the time period for some of the prophets. We learn learn who Isaiah really is as a result of reading the Kings and the books of Kings and the Chronicles. We learn that he's a prince, not just a prophet.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of mind numbing when you realize that the first time.
And another point I was going to make was the Gospels, the Synoptic Gospels. Well, even the Gospel of John, you have different perspectives of the same event. Now, don't think that they're contradictory, because they're not contradictory, but they're different perspectives of the same events. Whereas the Quran, let me get back to the reason why they do that. The Bible does that is so people have a better understanding of what happened and why it happened. Whereas the Quran, you just have one monologue, a dictation from God to mankind, and that's not consistent with what the Bible is. So if you're going to try to say, well, the Quran came to affirm the Bible, really, in what way? I mean, if it's nothing like the Bible at all, why in the heck are you trying to say that it confirms the Bible? And then plus, on top of that, it's been plagiarized. I was going through.
It's plagiarized. Yeah, this Quran plagiarizes the Bible repeatedly, and then it repeatedly gets the story wrong.
Look at what I've been up to. This is the original sources of the Quran, and what I've done is I have gone in and documented all kinds of different. I'm going to put something together someday that deals with that. But when you start saying with the sources of the Quran, where it's a rip-off version of pre-existent literature is what it is. To try to say this is from God is just, well, it's desperation is what it is. It's simply
and you're
not.
polite.
Yeah, well, I know. I don't want to. I don't want to get in trouble with veto, but I'm not veto. I'm not going to say these stupid mother. I'm not going to.
Yeah. You don't want to. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a conversation Paul and I were having before the show. Okay.
Yeah.
Oops, I got to go back to bring this back up. Okay. The Quran is not specific, and since it's not specific, it leads to all kinds of different misinterpretations. And this is why they had this Muslim in a clubhouse room the other day says, well, I can't read that without going to the Tafsir to understand what it means.
Well, you know what's worse? There's so many numerous passages where Allah is the God of perhaps. He doesn't know.
Yeah,
Allah
sure.
doesn't know. He says it repeatedly, perhaps. So
Perhaps
Allah is the God of perhaps. So it's as unspecific as you can get.
I had something right there on my tip of my tongue, something that dealt with that, and it's escaped me. Again, it's been a long day. Sorry. I know you're all feeling sorry for me. Okay, so it's not specific. And this is not by not being specific. This is, I know what I was going to say. I was going to talk about that kid on Clubhouse the other night. The kid on Clubhouse says, they were asking, goes, well, what does this mean? He's like, I don't know what it means. I can't know what it means. I have to, give me a minute. I have to first go to the Tafsir. So you're reading something from God's last message to mankind, which is supposed to be clear. And you need to go to somebody else who read it to tell you what it means. It's a joke to say something like that. And
they have to go to man. It's a man's religion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yes. Well, a man wrote the commentary, so yeah, this is what God meant. No, if you need somebody to tell you what the book means, then you're in a cult. And this is what's led to all these different sects and subsects in Islam. And I know what's going to happen. I'm going to get an email. I'm going to get a message from somebody that read the Imam's book, because the Imam cites, there's over 33,000 Christian denominations out there, and you're only complaining about a couple hundred Islamic sects, or what? Shut up. The people that say that wrote that number for your book tell you not to use that number, but yet you kept it in your book. That's how intellectually honest you are. Okay. And lastly, and he makes this comment, you ask 10 Muslims about a passage, you're going to get 10 different interpretations. Okay. In the Bible, you have various authors. You have over 40 authors. They're inspired by God to write the words that he wants them to write. And these words are actually the words of God. Whereas Muhammad and his companions, who were poisoned to death before the Quran was written down, never wrote down what God told them. They never had the chance to write it down. So all of these people that were reciting the Quran, a lot of them were killed at the Battle of Yamama, or Yamama, however you want to pronounce it. This is where, Abu Bakr said, if we send these people out, these Quran citers out, they're going to preserve the Quran, so we know they'll live in this battle. So he sends them all out there, and they get whacked. And so they lost a lot of the Quran that day, they say. So it wasn't written down then. So it's later gathered, compiled, edited, re-edited, and this is where we get the Quran today. And look what it comes from: his concubines, his temporary wives, his relatives, his friends. The sheep ate part of it, for crying out. I mean, it's ridiculous. And then Uthman gets a hold of it, and he says, okay, this is exactly what they said. Well, where did you get this information? And, could you imagine? Okay, let's just pretend you're living in the 7th century, okay? Doggone it. I hate this. I tell you what, this mouse, you're toast. After the show, you're out of here. I'm going to plug it in directly to the computer, or I'm going to do something. I can't get it to go to the box that I want it to go to. Golly. I move it this way, and the mountain. Gee, Merry Christmas. Now, what was I saying?
That sounds like my last work computer.
What was I saying?
You're talking about Uthman.
Oh yeah.
And what kills me about Uthman is he burns all the Qurans.
Okay, this is the face that I wanted to give. Okay, so let's pretend you're Uthman, and you compiled the Quran, and you're asked, okay, where did you get this information? I burned it. Think about that.
So he's burning stones and bones.
Well, they wrote it on. You can burn bone, but I don't think you can.
Yes, stones and bones and
everything they wrote it on. He burned. Why would you burn manuscripts? Why would you burn the stones and the bones?
They prove that he didn't use them. You got to hide the evidence.
Yeah. So how can you say, oh, Uthman gave us the Quran? We have the Uthman recension.
Yeah, if Allah is so much about proof and being trustworthy, well, where's his proof that they're written on these bones and stones and animal skins and whatnot?
It's in the Hadith.
Yeah, man. That also proves that it's a man's religion. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but we're not Muslims, so we're not Muslims. We're not supposed to know about this.
Well, that's true.
Well, they don't.
If you do know about it,
that's for sure.
Yeah, if you know about it, you're an Islamophobe, don't you know? That's
Amen.
If you talk about it, you're a hate monger and a bigot. If you hate. But the point that I was going to make is that, okay, well, the only reason why we know how the Quran was compiled, not because of the Quran, is because of the Hadith. And the Hadith were written down 2.5 that were compiled. Again, this is the compilation of the Quran. It's supposed to be Uthman. Okay, prove that. But you're going to prove it using the compilation and the writings. There's something that was compiled 250 years after the events, 1,000 miles away.
Right.
How does that work out? How can you possibly provide any type of legitimacy to that narrative? I mean, I don't know. Okay, let's go back to the slideshow. Okay. I'm sorry for yawning, folks. Okay, so when we look at, and then I messed up again. So here you have the Bible is the story of mankind, and it goes till the end of mankind. And the Quran, well, the Quran is only God's guidance to ward off evil. If you go to Surah 2 and 2:21, that's what it tells you the Quran is for.
To ward off evil, but it makes murder. You can beat your wife, you can marry prepubescent little girls, you can murder. So where's this warding off evil? Thank you.
I think it's a practice of evil.
Well, that's
exactly.
You can do it, right? Okay, so the Bible, it records events from history, but the Quran, of course, is not a historical document because there's no history in the Quran. Okay, this is where I was going to go with this. Connie alluded to it earlier. Come here, you mouse. Come here. There we go. Thank you. All right. So when we look at the Quran lists. Where did it go? Here we go. The Quran lists different locations. Okay. And when we start talking about historical locations, the Quran has for every word, or for every historical location mentioned, it has 2,229 words for every location mentioned. However, if you go to the Gospel of Matthew, for every location that is mentioned, a location is mentioned every 229 words, not 2,229, 229. You go to the Gospel of Mark, 200. You go to the Gospel of Luke, 246. And you go to the Gospel of John, it's 289. So which one would be more accurate when describing these places? If you look in the Quran, it mentions the Hijra once. It mentions a place called Al-Rash twice. Tuba twice. The Valley of Becca is mentioned once.
So Mecca's not in there?
The Valley of Mecca is mentioned once, 48:24. Medina is mentioned twice. Midian is mentioned 7 times. A place called Talmud, which is up north, is mentioned 24 times. And the same thing with Ad.
So
Ad
Mecca
is
must
mentioned.
not be important.
Well, if we were just looking at it from the time it's
So what would
mentioned
be
in
the
the
most
Quran,
important place according to the number of times it was listed in?
well,
in there?
Ad, a place called Ad.
Just out of curiosity, do you have a list for that kind of for the Bible?
No, I do not believe.
My bet would be Jerusalem.
Well, hold
would
on.
be the number one.
Jerusalem in the Gospel of Matthew is mentioned 12 times. In Mark, it's mentioned 11. In Luke, it's mentioned 32. In John, it's mentioned 13 times. In the Quran, it's mentioned 0 times.
So why is that place in Jerusalem important? Because somebody decided long after Muhammad died that he had a trip in the middle of one of his dreams.
There are 65 references to location, or let's see, 65 references to specific locations in the Quran, but there's only 9 locations that are mentioned. Let's take the Gospel of Luke. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 22 minus 2, 100. Oh, it's right here. I didn't have to count it up. You have 110 references, 31 locations. John, you have 65 references, 14 locations. Matthew, 108 references, 31 locations. And Mark, 79 references, 26 locations. In the Quran, what was it? 65 references, but only 9 locations. So each of the Gospels themselves mention, let's see, 2, 3 times as many locations, with the exception of John. John only mentions 14 locations. But okay, John has 65 references to locations and 14 different locations, and this is the least. The Quran has 65 references, but only has 9 locations.
So even John outbeats it. Yeah.
Even John, exactly. It's
and you think about how much longer the Quran is than the Book of John. It says so.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous. Sure. Okay, let's let Rad back in the room. What's he doing? Keep jumping out on us. All right, back to the slideshow. Okay, the Quran is definitely not a historical document, because whatever history it is in it is wrong. This is
or missing or jumbled.
Right. The Bible, you have kingdoms, places, societies, and you have them placed accurately, chronologically, where they're supposed to be. They're where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there. You cannot say that of the Quran. The Quran has no history whatsoever. It does not. It only mentions a few historical characters, but just mentioning them is not history. It does not provide you a historical context. For example,
Right.
the Quran does not tell you when Moses lived. It does not tell you when David lived. It does not tell you when Jesus lived. It just assumes these things that you would know. So you cannot understand the Quran without first having the Bible, whereas you don't need to have the Bible to understand I think I said that right. In order to understand the Quran, you have to have the Bible, but in order to understand the Bible, you don't need the Quran. It's crazy why people would believe this thing anyway. It's vital to archaeological knowledge and surveys, specifically in Israel. And the Bible, when it mentions, it talks about places that are on 3 different continents, and all of them are where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there. And this is backed up by archaeology. And when you look at, I love this comment right here. The Quran has literally nothing useful for archaeology and surveys. And if it does, I would like to know what it has. And the reason why I bring that up is because it mentions this Valley of Becca. This Valley of Becca. Now, I'm going to try to find out what verse that is, and I'm going to ask one of you guys to look this verse up for me and tell me where. Let's see. The Valley of Becca, chapter 3, verse 96. And then tell me what that verse says.
396?
Yeah, because I had somebody try to tell me that was Mecca. And they referenced the Psalm.
396. Is that Osama's translation? Surely the first house that was established for the people was at Becca. Blessed and guidance to the worlds. Plural. Okay. How does that have to do with anything close to
It doesn't tell you where it is.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't even have a description.
No. Yeah, it just has Becca, a name. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. The first house of God to be set up for men was at Becca, the blessed, a guidance for the people. Okay, the first house of God.
So they can't even spell Mecca right. And if they're going to claim that's Mecca, this is the the funny thing is when you get people who want to this is when I'm talking to Muslims, like I say to them, look, the thing I like to have fun with still is I'm really enjoying is show me from the Quran your Muhammad as a prophet, and they can't do it. It drives them nuts. I says, now wait a minute. If you can't do that from your book, what does that say about the message it's giving you?
Right. It's not from any prophet.
Yeah, there's no passage in the Quran that says Muhammad is a prophet. There are passages saying he's a messenger. And then there's a passage saying there's a difference between a messenger and a prophet. Okay. They don't know what to say. And so they make up stuff. Aladdin's the master of that one.
They make up stuff.
Yes.
No.
Well, we've seen that happen more than once.
All the prophets are messengers, but not all messengers are prophets.
Say that one more time.
I heard that.
Say that again.
It said the prophets are messengers, but not all messengers are prophets.
Prophets and messengers have to be two different groups.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's keep hearing.
They have to be different groups because the prophets. It says the prophets. Yeah, are the ones who tell things, and the messengers have to confirm that's where prophets can't be messengers. That's what it comes down to. If someone you can't confirm your own word, because then you're.
And there you go. Yeah, that's Allah. He wants everybody to confirm, everybody to prove it, but Allah can't prove one word that he says.
Well,
okay, chapter 48.
Allah is Muhammad is what it comes down to because he's trying to confirm himself.
He's a soft puppet.
Yeah.
Okay, chapter 48. Chapter 48, verse 24. Now, this is the most important place on the planet.
Chapter 28?
Chapter 48, verse 24. It was he who restrained their hands from you in the heart of Makkah, and your hands from them after he had given you victory over them, as God sees all that you do. And then in the 25, it says, if were those who disbelieved who hindered you from going to the holy mosque, preventing your offerings from arriving, at the place of sacrifice. Had it not been for the presence of believers, men and women, of whom you were unaware, and whom you might have trampled thus. What is this? God, I hate reading this book.
It's nonsensical.
Garbage.
This is what we keep discovering in that series, the Kufar phobia we're working on is if Muslims would just do one thing, read the Quran, they would leave Islam. They won't. They just realize when they start reading, they realize it doesn't make any sense to them. So they think, oh, I must be missing something here. And they put it down.
How can this be a... How can you...
Hey, even Al-Din won't defend it. You've seen that, right? He challenges to a debate. I just
can't understand how somebody can sit there and say that this book is, it's from God. You can't understand it. You can't understand what it's talking about. It's all over the place. And you say, well, it's supposed to confirm the Bible. You ain't confirming dink. You're not confirming the Bible by simply mentioning something. And this is what this guy was saying in this slideshow.
You're getting the story wrong.
Yeah.
Not once, but multiple times on the same story.
Okay. Oh, my goodness. All right. The Bible is essential to many scientists, engineers, architects, philosophers, geologists, scientific designers, schools of higher learning for research. Muslims, as you know, they're the only ones who use the Quran. So the Bible, they use a lot of the historians use the Bible. I know a lot of history, human history is founded on what the Bible teaches, and they've gone back and put things together. But you have other kinds of things, philosophy and geology, things of this nature. Okay, the Bible is universal. It's used by all religions, nationalities, races, and languages, academicians, but Muslims only use the Quran. In the Bible, you see a systematic progression of God's plans for mankind. In the Quran, it's just this is exactly what we were looking at. This is just a haphazard, jumbled up bunch of verses, unrelated subjects, topics, arranged unimportantly.
So I'm curious, Eric, have you ever been in a restaurant when you see the waitress struggling to bring a platter to your plate, to your table, and all of a sudden everything just falls all over the place?
Yes,
and she struggles to pick it up. I think that's what happened to the Quran. They were all written on little bitty pieces of paper, and then somebody struggled to put them back in order, and that's how you got the Quran.
Yeah. I mean, could you imagine being Usman trying to put this together? I mean, what do you guys mean? You want me to do what? I ain't doing that. Are you crazy? I don't know how this goes. You're the one that knows this.
Was that before or after it was burned?
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Let me get back over here. And then let's see. For inconsistency, the Quran, what is it? It's red back. Okay. The first half, look at this. The first half of the Quran contains 20 chapters, and then the second half contains 94 chapters. And we were commenting on this earlier, where it's the Quran is assembled based on the longest chapter to the shortest. But even that, I mean, the first chapter, what is it, Al-Fatiha? That's not very long at all. But chapter 2 is indeed the longest chapter, and then chapter 3, and so on and so forth. But that's how it's. I mean, could you imagine assembling the Bible based on the longest chapter to the shortest chapter, the longest book to the shortest book? You'd be stupid to do that.
But the truth is, that's not really what they did. That's the point.
What would they do?
Well, they if you look at chapter 1, the first chapter, Surah 1 is one of the shortest ones.
Well, that's yeah. But after that, though, it's pretty much.
Even after that, there are some that are shorter than others. So the claim is false.
Well, then how did he come up with the idea? What did he do then? I mean, you said,
there's no explanation. I still think it's like a monkey throwing stuff up in the air and grabbing it.
Yeah.
The waiter falling and dropping the Quran in a million pieces. That's the best way I can think of explaining it. That's why you got portions of a story here and there. That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
I was going to jump over to here, this YouTube. Hold on just a second. Never mind. I'm getting the wheel of death. Why does this have to happen? We were on last week, and I want to make sure. There we go. It's going to. Okay. Let's get back over to this. Here we go. All right. The Quran gives no dates, no times, no periods, and there's no systematic progression within the Quran at all for anything. But they have never found the Quran of the time of Uthman. This is true. Well, let me say this about the Sana manuscript. We've talked about that several times on the show. With the Sana manuscript itself is the oldest surviving Quran, and it was just discovered. Was it 1975? And it's a palimpsest. And you have with the palimpsest, what they do is it's written on vellum, which is animal skin, and this animal skin is very valuable. So what they did was that they wiped over what was initially on it, and then wrote a new Quran on top of it, new passages on top of it. The passages that are on top of the underwriting, because when you write with the quill at this time, you scratch the vellum. And so you can tell using UV light what was underneath the what was wiped off. So the script on top does not match what was written underneath. It was changed. On top of that, the Sana manuscript is the Quran before the Quran itself, because the Sana manuscript is given carbon-14 dates that date clear back to the 400s.
Yes.
When was
200 years before Muhammad was even born?
Yeah, what was Muhammad born? Was born what, 570? Died
Yes.
632.
So the Quran proves the Quran wrong.
Yeah, the Sana manuscript is the Quran before the Quran existed, and the sad part is we can prove it. We have the proof right there. It's right in front of people's face if they would just read it. It's even over on the website. Not answering is what's that?
Was that on Islam Awakened or something like that? You were getting
it's a pro-Islamic Islamic awareness. I think it was. It's not. I mean, it isn't like it's some answering Islam or something like that with Sam Shimon or those guys would put up. This is an action. This is. I had a conversation with what's his nuts. What's the little imp? The guy that doxed our brother. What was that guy's name? You guys know who I'm talking about.
Is it Imtiaz?
Who?
Was it Imtiaz? Was that his name?
No, I know who you're talking about. Geez, I don't recall his name right now. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, there we go. I had a conversation with
Imtiaz Ahmed. Ijaz. Okay.
Yeah, and I had a conversation with him on this, and I was like, okay, so your dates here, they're falling outside the when the Quran was supposed to have existed. What do you say about that? And he goes, well, these haven't been finalized by the labs.
No, they have been finalized. They lie.
Well,
they lie. When you have a date finally, and you've got historians given the dates, it's finalized.
Yes.
And it is finalized. So they just open up their mouth and lie.
Yeah. They won't publish a date unless they have,
No, but
scientists don't share information they consider not conclusive.
No, the point I'm trying to make is they did publish it over on Islamic Awareness.
Yes, they did, sir. Yes, you're right, Eric. So it is publicized. He just opened up his mouth and put his foot in it.
No, they have to say the opposite of what you say.
Say that again, Darcy.
It's like they always have to say the opposite of what you say. So no matter what it is.
Or they have to distract and come up with something to get you off the topic because they look like idiots.
I'm really kind of shocked by the doxing. I'm like, look, we can have a discussion and debate. And I think in faith and religion, you're going to have very strong points of view. So Muslims have a very strong point of view. Christians have a very strong point of view. That's normal. It's like, I think
Yeah.
it is hard in
It's a
interfaith
good thing.
dialogue because it's about salvation. You know, what
Yeah.
do you believe is going to bring you salvation? So, you know, do you believe it's good works that is going to do it? Do you believe it's by, you know, solo Christos? You know, do you believe that? Like, what do you believe? And that, I think that's the hardship in these kinds of spaces, is that you're going to have people who are going to have very strong points of view. And I think we've had some very good dialogues here, actually, where, you know, people may disagree, but, you know, you can conversate and say, these are my feelings. There was that Muslim brother, what was his name? He was a Trinitarian Muslim, which was very unique. I don't remember what his name was, but he came on and he shared his point of view. You know, you might not agree with it, but you should, you know, you can share. So
Yeah,
I'm
at
not gonna
least
cut
he
your
was
head off for it.
pleasant to talk to. We had him on. You remember him, Eric?
Who
At least
was
he
it?
was pleasant to talk to. You brought him on, what, 9-10 months ago, and he was a Trinitarian Muslim or something like that.
I remember him. Yes. Now
Yes,
that you
sir.
bring that up, I remember
Yeah.
him now.
He was at least
This
pleasant
cow
to talk
sucks.
to.
Golly.
Eric hates
So, like,
him.
a
I'm ready to
Christian
lose
Muslim
my
thing.
mind. Okay, I finally got it. Jeepers, I've been trying to pull this up over.
So the Nation Islam brother didn't come. I was surprised. I didn't see him there. I was wondering what was going on.
Who
He
is
didn't
this? I'm
show
sorry.
Sunday.
I've been distracted. I've been trying to pull this up for.
He said
my
he
mouth.
didn't come Sunday.
Yeah, because I was there and I was like, "What's going on? Why is he coming on?"
We also figured out how to have him on. We put him on BTR, and Eric hooked up a speaker so he could be heard. So that saved all his fading in and out.
Oh, yeah. Prince Muhammad, the
Yeah.
NOI guy. Yeah. Okay. Here's what was on Islamic awareness as far as manuscript for the Quran. Now, this is the Sana manuscript, and look at the dates here. The dates, and these are the published dates by these labs, the labs in France, Germany, England, Switzerland, and the United States. Now, a lot of these dates that they have up here are pretty consistent with what you would find or you would expect to find with an Uthmanic text. But you have to look at the median range here, because this gives you the outlier. So you want to go in the middle here. So these Qurans, even the majority of these dates, place the Quran too early. This Quran anyway, too early to be Uthmanic. Now, when you get down here to the dates that they find in France, for crying out loud, you're talking 388. Are you kidding me? 388. Muhammad wasn't born. It was 570. That's almost 200 years before Muhammad's even born. So when we start, and this is, of course, look up here, Islamic awareness. I mean, this isn't, this kafir, just making this up to make it look bad. The truth makes the Quran look bad, especially when you have a Quran before the Quran. All right, let me put this down here.
Well, if you think that the Quran is a perfectly preserved text, if you think the Quran is a spiritual text, I don't think you have the same problem. But you're right if you believe that it's the perfectly preserved text, which I guess a lot of.
But who believes that it's a spiritual text?
I would say probably a Sufi, maybe a Sufi mystic would take that position. I would say mystics would take that position.
What percentage of those make up?
Not publicly. Like someone like Sheikh Hamza Yusuf Hansen would be considered Sufi, but you can't publicly state that you're Sufi nowadays. So yeah.
Or an Ahmadiyyan, yeah.
Yeah, an Ahmadiyyan,
or Nation of Islam. Oh wait, Nation of Islam, you can, but you have to be
kind of not. A lot of people say you're fake. They would say that and there's also a lot of anti-blackness that exists, which I think is very. I brought that up when I went on Imam Omer's show. I'm like, yes, you could say that you want to say this show is racist, but if you want to say that whatever, that's your opinion. But I'm like, are you going to be honest that
he said this show is racist?
Yeah, he was saying that when I went on, and I was like, well, in the Islamic community, there's a lot of racism. There's a lot of anti-blackness. So I'm like, are you going to be open to that? Like, let's say I was going to talk to Mr. Edwards. I'm like, let's say you want to marry a South Asian woman or an Arab woman. That family's not going to accept you 90% of the time, even though you're Muslim. They rather their daughter marry a person of European ancestry before marrying you. So I'm like, are you going to be open to that? Are you going to be honest that there's a lot of anti-blackness in the Islamic community or not? And then he basically didn't want to engage that, and he kind of shifted over and was like, yeah, no, we're not talking about that. We're talking about how racist the Cross and the Crescent is. And I'm like, okay. I mean, there are Arab people here. There are black.
They were
people
doing a
here.
show. They were doing a show discussing
Or
how
whatever.
racist we are here. Is that what you said?
That was his question to me. He's like, why are you, this person of color with this Arabic name, coming on the show? You're this person of color. Like, they don't like you. They don't care
We
for
love
you.
you. You said that. Why we not like you?
That was the point. There is like, and I'm just like, I mean, there are a lot of people of color here, so I'm like, I don't know. There are women here, so I'm like, I don't know what the point is here. But I mean, I think that's your opinion. But okay, I don't think that's completely honest. But I think in debate conversation, you're gonna have hard topics you're gonna deal with, and that's just it. Are you willing to have those conversations? Are you willing to hear things that will offend your faith? You know, and are you willing to defend your
When
faith
you've lost,
with that?
I've learned when you've lost the argument, that's what you do. You label your opponent a racist.
Well, because I thought it was, I
that's
actually
the purpose
talked
of the ad hominem. That's I say the ad hominem is the result of a small-minded person who's nothing but a loser.
Well, there you go.
because I actually talked
That
to
explains
him.
a lot right there. That's a great statement.
Because we were having a conversation about you, Mr. Smith, Eric. We were having a conversation about you in the sense that I was kind of upset. I was like, sir, I'm like, you came on the show, you had a conversation. Why would you go to a school? And he's like, well, this is how it is that, you know, you go into, if you're a teacher, you can't share what your personal feelings are about things. You know, like it indoctrinates people, and then people can see that you have all these things connected. And I'm like, I said, I was thinking.
Well, the only reason why he would say that is because he's never been in a classroom before.
Right. Yeah. He's never heard Eric speak, but he's just assuming and lying that Eric is saying all of this when he's not.
I think it's also very deeply problematic in the sense that everybody in any religious position, you're going to have a controversial position. That's just how religion is. If I say I'm a follower of Christ, I might say that there are false prophets. I might take that position that other religions have false prophets. Does that now make me a hater? Does that make my faith completely wrong? I could say I'm a Muslim, and I could say, well, Buddha is not a prophet because he comes after the prophet of Islam, and you know, Ghulam Ahmed is not a prophet. You know, Sheikh Ghulam Ahmed is not a prophet. I'm going to say something that's offensive. That's the nature of religion and faith. I'm going to say something controversial, and it's like, are you willing to have a dialogue, or are you not? You know, you're.
Well, I would. Well, I'm not. This is what he does. I mean, he does not know. He invents straw men and then he beats them to death. Is what he does. And
I just thought that was not correct. I said you cannot deal with someone's livelihood in a conversation. I'm like, that's just not right. I'm
well,
like,
that's how shallow he is. I mean, he's used to. He's a bully, is what he is. He's used to having his way. And when somebody finally stands up to him and calls him out on it, this is what he does.
This is the nature of freedom.
I could care less about that douche canoe. I mean,
one thing that I would say,
I didn't mean to say that.
It's our freedom is important. In freedom, we're gonna, like, if a KKK person wants to say some hostile, racist thing, they're gonna say their thing, and then you could say, I don't want to hear what they have to say. I'm going somewhere else. If they go and use violence, then they need to go to jail. That's the point. Once they step out of just talking and doing stuff, then they need to go to jail. But besides that, it's like people have opinions. This is just how it is. This is how our world is, and I think we're blessed to be here in America where we can have these opinions and we're not going to be killed. Like, I think of Pakistan as a brown person. My dad was born before Pakistan existed, but I think about Pakistan and the partition. And the whole point of Pakistan was to create a safe space for Muslims. That was the purpose of Pakistan. Now it's the space of abuse where they abuse people who are not Ahlus Sunnah wa Jama'ah Sunni Muslims. And that hurts me. I'm like, your whole premise of and it was made by an Ismaili, funny enough. And Ismaili is the founder. What was his name? Qadi Azam, that's the nickname that he has. But Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Muhammad Ali Jinnah is the founder, and he was an Ismaili, which is a form of Shia. It's fascinating. And I'm like, now there's Asia Bibi, who's a Christian, and she was there, and she said, they asked her, they said, well, you can't drink from this well because you're not a Muslim. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like a very human thing to do. And then then they said, you need to become a Muslim now, right? They said, you need to become a Muslim. And she said, why do I need to become a Muslim? I believe in the Lord Jesus Christ. I don't need Islam. I have what I need, right? And they said, that's blasphemy. I'm like, how's that blasphemy? That's her belief. That's her faith. Your constitution says you believe in all the faiths. That's what you say. You say you protect all these faiths, and you can't, attack it. But it seems like you're willing to attack this faith. So I don't know. It's just, to me, it's ludicrous. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
They
Well,
they
I was-
come
I
in
was-
with a lie. They come in with a lie to try to get the territory, and then they expose themselves that they were lying all along. Thank you.
Yeah,
Well, the-
two-faced.
Pakistan, there's something that you did mention about Pakistan, how Pakistan was established to protect the Muslims from the Hindus.
That's the claim.
Yeah, and how they
did
now
kind of make that.
okay, and how they now persecute their own people for not being Muslim enough.
Right.
We have
Or
the
the
same.
correct- or the right kind of Muslim.
We have the
Right.
same. We have the same thing when our country was colonized. You had the Puritans when they came over here. They were a persecuted group in England because they were considered traitors. They didn't follow Church of England's teaching. They wanted to reform it or purify the church. Well, as soon as they got over here, after they were being persecuted, they get over here and they start persecuting their own people. And this is why you had places like Connecticut and Rhode Island colonies develop, because they were getting persecuted up in the Massachusetts colony. So it is, Christianity is not immune from this type of treatment it's itself. But again, the point is that the majority of people in Islam will persecute others based on not being the right kind. I mean, look at the Shia and the Sunni, for crying out loud. How can you have such this visceral hatred? Okay, let's. To an extent, I can understand it, because when you look at the Protestant and the Catholic division in Christianity, you have these very strong disagreements, and they did go on for hundreds of years in Europe. I mean, a lot of the wars are fought over Protestant. Anyway, okay, so there's a lot of wars fought over this. But we're not doing it now. That's the thing. It's 2022. Look at a calendar. But yet, 1,400 years later, these guys are still killing each other wholesale over, what was Ali one of the caliphs or not? It's stupid. But, you have your word and you have your Bible and all this. That. Now, I want to finish this slideshow up. Do you have anything else to add, Isa? It's okay.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt the flow.
No, he's fine.
I apologize.
No, it was actually
No,
good.
it's fine.
That was great.
I
It
think
needed to be
the
said.
last thing that I would say is that the most powerful weapon out of all weapons, in my opinion, is love and compassion and mercy. Love is the most powerful weapon, and it's just sad to just see all the hatred and vitriol and people willing to murder people based on some identity thing. It's insane.
Amen. Love never fails. Love never fails.
What are you talking about? One of the biblical things, like we would know by our love. What are you talking about?
They will know us by our love. Yeah.
For
You
those
sound
like
the
Paul,
Bible,
the
1
apostle,
Corinthians, love never fails. Yes.
Yeah,
Or
you sound
2
like Paul.
Corinthians.
Yeah.
Okay.
For those of you who aren't aware, Buffalo, New York's down the road from me, and there was a lot of accusations that the shooter there was racist, and the original statements by the newspaper said it was a racist shooting, and what they're discovering is that's not true. Oh, big surprise.
Yeah, I know, you're shocked. You notice how quickly they didn't, when it was about race, where you had that guy in Kenosha running people down, and it was about race when you had that guy on the New York subway and shot all those people. When it was about race, we gotta shut our mouths, because you got, the guy in the New York subway was a Nation of Islam guy, he's NOI. But when it's not, They need to make it about that. And what do they want to do? They want to bring.
Well, they only want to get one
racial
perspective.
division
Where it's a
again,
white
and then
guy
also,
shooting a black guy. You can't have it the other way. They can't put up a black guy shooting a white guy because that doesn't fit their narrative.
You get so sick of it. You get so sick of it. Okay, I think I have. Let me see here. I don't want to do this. The Quran is filled with contradiction, errors, lies, and stupidity. I don't know if I want to put that up there. Let's do it. Let's go ahead. This is this guy's article. This isn't me, folks. I tell you what, I'm going to take.
Say goodbye to the mouse. Mouse is going to go flying.
I'm going to throw it through the window. Golly. Okay. Let's see. The Bible describes the end of the world. It gives revelations about it, things to materialize. In other words, it gives prophecy about what's going to happen. The Quran ends with chapter 114. And this is what 114 says. I seek refuge in the Lord of mankind, the King of mankind, the God of mankind, from the evil of the sneaking whisperer, who whispereth in the hearts of mankind, of the jinn and of mankind. Guys, that's the last chapter.
That's all of
the
it.
Quran. Could you imagine suffering through all of that, the entire Quran, and getting to the end and reading that and going,
well, some of those aren't even full sentences.
I don't. I can't. It's just. I
the
don't know.
King of mankind. That's not a sentence. The God of mankind, not a sentence.
Okay. Let's see. I don't even want to get into these other things tonight. I'm wore out. Okay, I think we're going to end it there, folks, for the day. Thank you for coming again to the show. Again, Sunday, we're going to have a show. Yes, we're having a show Sunday. Because I'm not here doesn't mean we can't have a show.
I'm going to be daring. I'm going to pull out. That's why I just stopped in the middle and took a look, see where I can find my research. Many years ago, I did a ton of research on something called the Index of Forbidden Books. So I'll talk about that. See what.
Okay.
That will be controversial.
Just send me a short little blurb.
Yeah.
I'll write it up. I'll put it in StreamYard, and then we'll.
Anybody who's studied Catholicism will know what I'm talking about. And
what's it called again?
The Index of Forbidden Books. They had the Bible on it if you were to read it in your own language.
Okay, I'll look it up. All right. Issa, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Do you mind if I say one last thing? I wanted to talk about last week or was it last week? Yeah, last Sunday.
Did I say something wrong?
Well, it's not completely wrong. There are certain feelings. I wanted to talk a little bit more. I was in a car, so I couldn't talk a lot of the issues there. But the thing that I think I was touched by and kind of hurt by is the segregation element. And it's like, I think we can all be pro-Black without being anti anything else. We can love Black people, be pro-Black people, support that. And I think what Rad had said was very important, is that with the Nation of Islam, there was a great bolstering within the community, because the way I view things, I'm not here to blame a group and an ethnicity and a race or a gender. Like, I think it's a very easy tool to do that and say, look, white man did every horrible thing, instead of just saying it's our human condition. Human people do bad things to other humans, and that's it. And it's not about whiteness. It's not about Blackness. And yes, I think we have to honor that a lot of Black people suffered. And I think that it's really cool that I saw here that there's a lot of people who are people of color, if you want to use that term, who come on here and they have their feelings, and everybody has their feelings, and that's okay. And being able to honor that without attacking someone else, I think, is important. That was the 2 cents.
What really got me going about this, and we're going to have, and Connie, by the way, I got a hold of, who's the president guy that does Hebrew Israelites? Ghetto president?
Ghetto president? Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. I messaged him. We're going to do a show. He says he'd be willing to do it. I just got to.
He's awesome.
Is that Clinton we're talking about?
No, not Clinton. No, this isn't Bill Clinton.
No, this is. I love that guy. He is so awesome.
And I'm going to try to get Dula on the same day. But what I was saying, responsible to what you were saying there, Issa, and I completely agree with what you're saying. What really gets me going with these Black Hebrew Israelites and the Nation of Islam is what they're doing is they're using God's word to number one, promote their racist, visceral hatred of white people. And number two, they're using the word of God to single themselves out as God's only chosen people because of the color of their skin. And when you abuse God's word like that, it just gets me furious. Just they would have the same complaints. They would have the same complaints when slaveholders would use Christianity to try to justify slavery, and quote verses, or people in Islam would use Islam to justify slavery, which you can, by the way.
Which you can. It's still valid under Islam, yes.
Yeah, and so when people use religion to justify evil, that's what gets me going. And this is what that guy on the Nation of Islam did, and the Black Hebrew Israelite guy was doing too. He uses racial hatred, racial divisions between people, racial differences of people, to divide people even further and to promote hatred of somebody else based on how much melanin they got in their skin. And he says, I don't have any melanin in my skin.
He's darker than I am.
You just got to go outside. I mean, you're tan up. All right. Everybody in chat, thank you again for participating and listening in and contributing today. I always appreciate you guys. And everybody that comes here to the channel, comes up on the platform, you're always welcome. And you're even Issa, you don't have to say, can I please talk? And don't be, I'm not going to be offended. Yeah. You're always welcome to speak and cite your opinion, even though you're wrong some of the time. And I have to, I wouldn't. Yeah. All right. God bless you guys. I love doing the show and I love you guys for coming. We'll see you all. I'm not sure when we're going to see you next, but we'll be seeing you soon. Trust me. All right. God bless.